Welcome to Building the Future, hosted by Kevin Horick. With millions of listeners a month, Building the Future has quickly become one of the fastest rising programs, with a focus on interviewing startups, entrepreneurs, investors, CEOs, and more. The radio and TV show airs in 15 markets across the globe, including Silicon Valley. For full showtimes, past episodes, or to sponsor the show, please visit buildingthefutureshow.com.
Welcome back to the show. Today we have Anshul Rathi. He's the founder and CEO of Certify. Anshul, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Lovely to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on the show today. I think what you guys are doing at Certify is actually really innovative and cool. But maybe before we get into all that, let's get to know you a little bit better and start off with where you grew up.
I grew up. It's so interesting. I grew up in absolutely in middle of nowhere in India.
Okay, very cool.
It's a small town. Even people from India don't know about it. When I was growing up, there were no English medium schools, so I went to a semi English medium school in my hometown, and then there were no kind of schools beyond 10th grade. So my parents were very gracious enough to send me to Mumbai for my higher education, and then I really did my engineering from one of the better engineering schools in India. Um, but I was always more interested in business, the applicability of engineering towards business, and focused a lot of my time just being in student councils and building small businesses on side. But the analytical nature in engineering definitely helped me in the long run.
Okay, so what got you interested in kind of engineering and business at an early age?
A little bit my family. My
Okay,
family is into business, and in India, where I come from, there's not a lot of awareness. So people either became doctors or became engineers. And I
okay,
didn't want
interesting.
to study for 10, 15 years. That was not something that I was looking forward to. So it just basically, I was good at math. I was always good at math. So I thought engineering would be a much better career choice for me.
Got it. No, that makes a lot of sense. So, walk us through, obviously, you go to university. Walk us through kind of the rest of university, working on some of the businesses, your career, and then let's dive into Certify and kind of why you founded that company.
Absolutely. That's such a interesting question. So, in engineering, I was a computer science and electrical engineering major, but I was mostly spending time outside of classrooms, trying to be part of student councils, organizing events. And during the final year, my capstone project was in solar energy, renewable energy. That really piqued my interest at that time, and I created this circuit, which was solar street lighting based on ambient lighting. So it could turn on
Oh,
and turn off based on the ambient light, and it really took off. People
that's
started
cool.
asking for that circuit. Yeah, it was. We could demo it in the engineering institutes and say that you could save up to 40% more battery power if you used our circuit.
Wow.
Um, and I basically built the circuits in the storeroom of my house and sold about 45,000 of those, just before I started thinking about higher education. And a bigger solar company came around and asked if I could sell them that circuit that I had built in the basement. I was
Cool.
like, sure, but if only if you pay me the tuition fees that I'm going for engineering, masters at Brown. So they paid for my engineering tuition at Brown. I sold them the circuit, and my first interaction with United States was me just packing my bags, hopping on a flight, and coming to Rhode Island, Providence to study at Brown.
Wow. Never been to North America before that.
Never been to North America before that. I had only taken one trip to Dubai, which is 3 hours away from India, with my parents as an international trip. That was my only international exposure before US.
Interesting. So I'm curious, lots of culture shock, or walk us through kind of your first. kind of navigating a whole new country, because that's a lot, right? And then obviously attending university on top of that.
So as I said, like I only went to semi English school before I came to US, and so I learned English by watching Friends. I
Oh,
watched
interesting.
Friends on the loop to basically
Sure.
learn English. So I had some cultural context, but one
Okay.
of the things that I did was I came to US with no expectations. Some
Okay.
of my friends came to US with a lot of expectations, looking at Hollywood movies
Sure.
and like sitcoms, and I basically came understanding this is going to be a good experience and I'm going to learn something new.
Sure.
Brown in so many ways was a career change. Like it really changed my career for good because of the people that I met there.
Sure. No, and yeah, it's like a very well-known university. So walk us through your career up into coming up with the idea, and then let's dive into the company.
Yeah. So at Brown, I also got admitted for electrical and computer science engineering. But because I took so many business courses at Brown, I ended up majoring in business and minoring in computer science.
Okay.
From from that point onward, I had watched too many Bollywood movies growing up, so always wanted to live in New York City all by myself. That
Okay,
was the
sure.
big Indian dream. So I
Sure.
moved to New York City, and one of the Brown alums, who's a real estate mogul in New York City, hired me to do investments for him, venture investments for him.
Cool.
That was my first entry, but after about doing that for about 18 months, I thought I wanted to get into tech. So I was going for an interview in the same building where Oscar Health was located, very early days of Oscar. And
Okay.
I ran into one of the founders of Oscar in an elevator. He gave me his card. He said, "Why don't you meet me upstairs after your interview and we should chat?"
Oh, interesting.
Uh, and that basically led to a job at Oscar. I was one of the earliest employees at Oscar. Um, built and I was tasked to build their entire provider network management. So
Oh, wow.
what the first job was to create a credentialing system, and the first credentialing system at Oscar was one big Google sheet with 260 rows, 260 columns, and 10,000 rows.
Oh,
That was
wow.
the first credentialing system that we ever built at Oscar. It started to break, and so Oscar decided to put more engineering resources to build this function out. I was responsible for building anything that touched provider data, network management, and compliance at Oscar. And I was there for 7 years doing exactly what we do at Certify. So everything I know about the provider data business is because of my training at Oscar for 7 years when I was doing this the exact same thing for them. And it's so interesting. At that point, Oscar wanted to hire people outside of healthcare so that they could question the status quo. They could come
Sure.
with a different perspective and start thinking about problems in a completely different way. And if you look at a lot of those people that worked with me at Oscar, most of them either are founding team members at an early stage company or have started their companies and have raised like big venture funds from some of the best venture funds in the country. So it was a very interesting time to be at Oscar.
Okay. So what made you decide to go on your own and found Certify, and what exactly is it?
Uh, I always tell people that I'm a very accidental entrepreneur.
Okay. Interesting.
I actually tried to find a vendor that would solve all my problems at Oscar. I was
Okay.
not looking to build something. On the other hand, I was asking for multi tens of $1 million of dollars to build this in house. Now, the vendors that were out there were point solution, primarily built for compliance and security in mind, human automation based, which meant big offshore team taking screenshots, putting a PDF together, and sending it back.
Okay. Interesting.
Also, it didn't make sense to put like tens of $1 million of engineering resources to just build it in house for Oscar. So during the peak of pandemic, because I hadn't coded for 7 8 years, I asked my wife, would she help me? She's a software engineer, and so I asked her if she would help me to brush up my coding skills.
Okay.
And Certify really started as a side project where we were trying to build something as a part time during the pandemic.
Interesting.
Um, and we just started getting traction. I reached out to a bunch of my Brown alumni friends and Oscar alumni friends and showed the product to them, and everyone was like, can we use this? And that was the starting point of Certify, and we really built Certify. So our goal right now is to create a single source of truth for provider data across the US healthcare industry. There's no single source. Provider data is spread across thousands of sources. There are no APIs. So when we really started thinking seriously about Certify, we wanted three principles and we just added fourth principle. We wanted to be an API first company, we wanted to be a data first company, and we wanted to be an automation first company. And we just started saying like, can we become an AI first company as well? So that was really the starting point of Certify. And then credentialing was a natural extension because everyone struggles with credentialing and no one wants to solve credentialing. It's one of the most boring problems in healthcare that we have today.
Well, and it's also like one of the most challenging, I would say, to get it right and accurate all the time.
It is. It is. Every provider has to go through credentialing about 18 times every single year. It's the same
Sure.
exact paperwork, it's the same exact documents. And on the other hand, people are checking the same exact documents about 18 times every single year. So there is huge inefficiencies and billions of dollars being put towards this when the value is really incremental if you do it once or 18 times.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so give me an example of a use case from a provider side, and then let's talk about the patient side, kind of after. Does that work?
Yes, absolutely. So, for use case for a particular provider, they don't have to fill out 40-page applications anymore.
Okay.
They
Sorry,
only have
sorry. One other sec. Sorry to cut you off. Like when you say healthcare provider, what does that mean? Is it like doctor, dentist? Like walk us through what a provider is.
that's such a great question. Anyone who provides clinical care, you can think about them as MDs, your DOs, physician assistants, nurses, nurse practitioners, mental health practitioners, dentists. All of that would fall under the realm of healthcare practitioners today.
Got it. Okay.
In order to get paid when they see patients, they need to be in network with payers and they need to have hospital privileges with hospital systems in their network.
Yep.
To become part of these networks, hospitals and payers ask them to fill out big 40-page application forms every single year.
Yep.
It's the same exact information if you either join United or Anthem or Centene, any pairs. It's the exact same information, but in different formats. So you would fill out first name first and then last name, or in another application, you would fill out last name and then first name. Materially no different, but it's just different formats that everyone uses. From that point onward, so what we have done is reduce that 40-page application into five data elements. We only require five data elements, and we are able to pull information for any provider across United States within seconds. The status quo is it takes about 30 days to pull that information today, just because there are no APIs, no data automation, no workflow automation. Because we have built this data infrastructure on the back end, you can give me any NPI, you can give me a provider first name and last name, and I'll be able to pull all their information in real time at any given point.
Okay. So how are you getting the data into Certify? Are you like scraping? Are you pulling from their APIs, a combination of a bunch of things, or how does that kind of work? Because you're right, it traditionally the data can take for anywhere from instant to days, weeks, or sometimes a month to be live.
Yeah. Um, we actually do little to no scraping at all. Scraping is
Okay.
fundamentally fragile, and you
Yeah, 100%.
constantly have to keep infrastructure up to scrape properly. Also, like if there is a same provider with a provider, two providers with the same name, then the scraping absolutely won't work because of the constraints. So, what we've been able to do is build systematic data pipelines with the primary sources. So,
Ah,
instead of scraping, we convince the primary sources to give direct dumps of provider data onto our platform on a
got it.
monthly basis.
Okay.
Just a result of that is we verify about 16 million licenses on a monthly basis onto our platform.
Wow.
No one in the industry has that data today.
Yeah, that's fair. So, how does that work then? Like, how did you land your first few providers? That's not simple in itself.
Yeah, I think we basically used a B2B2C. We know
Okay.
that upstream entities can ask providers to use the system that they want because they control the dollars. So we actually
Ah,
went to B2B customers. Our model has been B2B, and through that we have been able to we do about 250,000 credentialing events every single year today.
wow.
Just in 2 years we have been able to get there, and so we sell to health plans and hospital systems, and they use our systems to pull all the provider data that they want to streamline their operations.
Okay. No, that makes sense. So maybe can you give us, and you don't have to name names of, but like, how does it exactly work? So if I'm a hospital or I'm a doctor, walk me through like I reach out to you guys, and then how do I implement your solution into my workflow?
Yeah, great question. So a better example would be a payer,
Okay,
um,
perfect.
because that's our target customers right now.
Okay.
So every pair is required to create a network of healthcare providers, all like the type of providers that we just discussed: MDs, nurses, mental health practitioners. And it's a very regulated process. If you
Okay.
are
Yeah.
operating in a zip, you need to have certain number of providers to have network access and adequacy for your members.
Okay.
Now you
Interesting.
you negotiate a contract with them just like a 1099 contract. For these services you'll get paid this much. It's basically a rate card and how you would process claims.
Okay.
Before they can see any patients, they any provider that joins a network has to go through a thorough background check because it's directly related to quality of care. 100,000 people die every year because of medical error.
Sure.
What we do directly fits into improving the quality of care. It's the third largest cause of deaths in United States.
Oh wow.
The medical errors is the third largest cause of United deaths in United States. So the plans, because of the regulation, have to do a thorough background check. Is their license verified? Do they have any cases against them? Any malpractice cases against them? Do they have
Right.
licensure actions? They have to do a thorough
Hmm.
background check, and that background check process alone takes 30 days today. We have been
Wow.
able to we have been able to crunch that process to less than 2 minutes today, just
Oh
because
wow.
of all the data. We have all the data. Why would do you need a human to go to a license website, check if the license is valid or not? We have been able to just point an API towards our backend and pull all the information for them.
Interesting. Okay. So once that's in place, walk us through kind of using the system on an ongoing basis.
That's such a good question. So every part of healthcare operations touch provider data. So you can
Okay.
think about once they are onboarded, now they
Yep.
have to show in member facing directories. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever tried to find a doctor in a directory of the insurance that you have?
Yeah, it's terrible.
So what was your experience?
Well, a lot of times it's literally just you're kind of on your own in my experience, right? Like you're kind of googling around more than and looking for specific like a doctor at a specific clinic. It's I know there's kind of interfaces that do it, but it's usually at least in Canada anyway, it's kind of broken up by like regions, right? And like different parts of a city, and it's kind of it's really broken. To be honest, it's like brutally broken up here.
So that's the exact experience that anyone has.
Yeah.
52% of all provider entries at least have one or more inaccuracies. Either the specialty is not correct. So if you're trying to find a doctor with lower back problem, you won't
Yeah.
be able to find that. Or if you go to a office, you find that the provider does not work there, or they don't accept your insurance. There are multiple issues with that,
Yeah.
and it all starts with the downstream process of doing the background check correctly and setting up contract correctly. So we focus on that part in making sure that is streamlined, so the member facing directories start to have an impact and better accurate data, so members can actually start to find accurate care and have a much better experience overall.
Okay.
So,
Keep going. Sorry.
and then like claims, if you want to process claims, a huge part of claims adjudication is also provider data. Where was the claims processed from? Is the provider working there? Is the provider associated with that tax identity? So all those things need to be checked before dollars go out of the claim system.
Right. So
So,
keep going. Sorry.
and so the broader point is provider data is so important for healthcare operations, and yet every team does it in silo. No team, no, none of the teams aggregate their effort and say that we are going to streamline provider operations in spite of having huge impact on the efficiency and administrative workflows.
Okay. So can you maybe dive a little bit deeper into how you actually help the provider and is there like an AI component or walk us through that? And then I want to talk about from the patient side as well a little bit more.
Yeah. So for providers, it's a black box. Once you send an application, it's a black box. They don't
Yeah.
know where their application is. They generally get a standard email saying about 45. They'll get back to in 45 days, and on they're basically sitting on an island for 45 days, not seeing patients, not providing any care for the members of that insurance plan. If I turn this around from a hospital system perspective, if I hired a high, like a low, really niche specialty like an orthopedic surgeon, and I can't make them ready to provide care for 180 days, I'm losing money for 180 days. For for a provider of a certain specialties, that could mean up to $10,000 per day. If an
Wow.
orthopedic surgeon is providing care and doing surgeries, that could mean up to $10,000 for a hospital systems per day, and they're losing all these money because they're not credentialed and they're not in network with the payers.
Wow.
So
That's wild. That
hospital
it's
systems, it's a loss, they're losing revenue. For payers, it's a efficiency gain. The faster they get providers in network, the faster they'll be able to provide care to the members that they have sold insurance to. It impacts everyone.
interesting. Okay. So, and then obviously from the patient side, how does that work? Like, do they even interact with your technology at all or indirectly?
Indirectly, they don't. We focus majorly on providers,
Okay.
um, and we are all focused on making it better for the members, but we don't directly interact with the members.
Okay.
The impact is better care routing. So if you call your insurance and ask like, I really want to get to this provider, So the insurance company can now direct you towards a high quality provider for the specific need that you really want care. If you are really finding pain in your lower back and you don't want to go to directory and say like what are all the orthopedic surgeons, I really want to know what of my providers in the network specialize in lower back pain. So those kind of impacts start to happen. Also, as I said, like once we do this thorough background check, the quality of network is much higher, so you will get much better results at a much lower cost.
Okay, and then how do you guys monetize the platform? Do you just charge per usage, or how does that work?
We think ourselves as a SaaS company.
Okay.
We have a flat subscription fee, and then we charge on per usage basis, per provider basis to our customers. Um, it's a typical SaaS model that any other SaaS company would employ.
Okay, got it. So when you say provide, like, do I need, well, as a provider, how, like, do I need access to all the data you have or just a certain segment of it? And like, how does that kind of work? Based on the services I'm providing, I probably don't need access to all the data, or is that a wrong assumption?
Yeah, you don't. Generally the health systems will hire a certain number of providers to meet needs of their members. So they'll have certain number of neurosurgeons, certain number of internal medicines, primary care physicians, mental health practitioners. So they'll just have a panel of providers in their network. On the health insurance side, it is dictated by the regulations, which basically are like you need to have at least some density of providers if you're going to sell insurance in a particular market, so that
Right.
your members don't have to travel 20 miles, 30 miles to see a PCP if they need to see a PCP.
Okay, makes sense. So if I'm building an app in the healthcare space, can I integrate with what you're doing, or how does that work?
That's such a great question. We have always been a data first company.
Sure.
We have always said that our goal is to share data with the network to make it easy on the providers, to make it easier on the ecosystem. So if you're building an app for searching a provider in a particular specialty and you want our data, our APIs are robust. We have pretty much API for every single use case that there could be, and we could easily make it available. And it's built on industry standard REST 3.0 API protocols, so it's the latest thing in the API world. You can just use our APIs, get all the data, and build on top of that infrastructure.
Okay. So it's, and then you probably just work out an agreement on like a case by case basis kind of thing.
Correct. So we basically charge you on per API call
Right.
once
Okay,
you
that
start
makes
using
sense.
our data.
Okay. So I want to dive a little bit deeper into like how it actually kind of works, and maybe are you integrating AI into what you're offering, or how does that kind of play? Because obviously AI is the hot topic right now, and I'm just curious, are you leveraging that, or how does, or what does that mean to certify, and have you guys thought about that?
Yeah, it's so funny that you asked that. In fact, our roots have always been in machine learning and AI.
Sure, it's been around a number of years, it's just become this hot topic thing lately.
Exactly. But even since inception, our data model and data management have had AI components towards it. So let me break it down on how we use it. Well, traditional AI require large data sets to train them.
Sure.
Because we have data for about 4 million practitioners on our back end, we have always been uniquely positioned to use AI.
Sure, because you have the data.
Yeah, and like in fact, like all our data models have ML from day zero, even when AI was not a trend.
Right.
While we currently use AI for workflow automations, identifying accurate information on provider sites in our data model, and we are using new LLM based generative AI models for creating summaries, for one of the workflows that we require, which is called the credentialing committee process. But we also take data security very securely. One of the key issues with AI is data security, and
Sure.
we don't use any publicly available open AI or any models that have been publicly available. But we have an in-house version that we are using to create all these models internally. So we don't generally use LLMs. We use small language models that are much more trained for our particular use case, to drive efficiency and reduce cost for our customers.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. What about large action models? Have you thought anything about that? Or are you leveraging that at all?
It's on our roadmap. I think because AI models are also statistical model and underlying data is inaccurate, we want to make sure that we first have accurate data and then build
Right.
action models on top of that.
Okay. So, can you maybe give some advice around things you've learned over the years playing in the healthcare space? Because it's really, really challenging to build something in healthcare. And it's also even more challenging sometimes to get provider like companies, especially insurance and doctors, just everything kind of healthcare just can be an extreme challenge. And what have you learned over the years that maybe advice that you could pass along to other people that are maybe looking to get in the space or in the space currently?
I can definitely share my learnings. I think even healthcare being challenging gives you a much bigger opportunity to have an impact. The bigger the challenge,
Yeah.
the bigger the impact you could have. And we always think about our work from an impact perspective. If we really want to deliver high quality care at fraction of cost, we have to reduce administrative burden on the providers who are providing this care. They can't be bogged down into 40-page application 20-25 times every single year. So our entire mission is one API, one provider ID, frictionless provider data. It's really interesting because even being in a B2B SaaS healthcare space, we have found that if you I'll give you an example. We went on a demo with one of the largest nationals in the country,
Yeah.
and we asked them like, "Hey, is there a provider that has been stuck in your onboarding process for maybe 60 days?" And they pulled a random Texas provider that they just couldn't credential because they were not finding the accurate information. We didn't require 40-page application. We put 5 data elements in front of them in a live demo on that call, and sure enough, we pulled all the information. Where were they board certified? Was their license accurate or not? Do they have a prescribing authorities? What was their board certification, specialities, education and training? And that just popped their minds. They hadn't seen anything like that in the healthcare space for the long time, and now we are in the late stage contracting process with them. So the value that we show with our data, and
Yeah.
then basically build a business case of saying like, we will save you 40% cost on your multi-million dollar cost right now, and have better accurate data so that your members impact really drives the message to the executives at the health plan. They all need all they need to do is really see the value of what we are doing, and there's much faster buy-in when we show them the value that we can drive for them.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer for them, right? Like the cost that they pay you for the amount of time and live data basically that you save them is it's just like here's my credit card or take my money, right? Like yeah,
uh, I wish
interesting.
it could get to that stage in healthcare, but yes, pretty much we have a customer, large national, who actually paid us via credit card. That is unheard of in the healthcare industry.
Yeah, because you're saving them so much time and money, really. I guess it comes down to money too. But so I'm curious, where do you go from here? Because like, are you adding more kind of providers, or how does that kind of work? Like because you have like a well, it seems like you've solved the chicken and egg problem, but there's always kind of new providers coming on board, right? Or like starting up and looking to get into space, or how does that kind of work?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I feel that it's not a chicken and the egg problem. I think it's a
Okay.
omelette problem. Who can make the best omelette out of all the
Ah,
ingredients out there?
okay.
What is the best recipe for success here? It's ingrained in data, it's ingrained in workflow automations. Those are the two most important things in the industry that we operate in. So data has been provided, data has is always going to be the core part of our strategy. We are
Right.
never going to stop adding providers to our platform until we have 100% of the market, and certify becomes a single source of truth for provider data. We continue doing that. On the other hand, we continue building workflow automation for our enterprise customers. So right now we have credentialing, licensing, monitoring. We just added a new product, roster management, and we have a long roadmap that we are executing against to build, not build a point solution, build a platform solution where you need anything. Certify OS is the only place you come and log in and get the access to the provider data. So that's really on the enterprise side. And our goal always remains, like, I think our North Star is, have we reduced the number of hours providers are spending to get in network? If we have reduced that by significant amount, then we have become successful. We have to reduce administrative burden on the providers.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So walk us through roster management and what does that mean in your world?
Yeah. um, I'm so glad that you asked that. So every hospital system will have contracts with bunch of insurance in their network,
Sure.
and now to get paid accurately, they have to send on a monthly basis a roster of all the providers, a list of all the providers that are in their network.
Yep.
This goes into claim system. This is the basis on how claims get processed. If you send them the wrong information, your claims will get start to get denied.
Yep.
So it has direct impact on cash flow. Now every payer will require data in a different format, in a
Yep.
different way, in a different system. And every hospital system will store it in a different format, in a different way, in a different system. So we have kind of built a connection between a payer and a hospital system, where you just upload the data, and we know what format United requires it in. We know what
Right.
format Centene requires it in. So it's much easier for hospital to send that data, and all the payers get that information in a standard, normalized, cleansed, accurate data that they get from hospitals, that they can ingest in their directories. And that, like, helps with your, again, with member facing directories, that helps with your with your claims processing, accurate claims processing, that has a direct impact on quality of provider data that you have. Regulators are not dinging you for having inaccurate data, so there's so much of impact once you make this connection between a payer and hospital system.
Interesting. Okay. So I'm curious from I guess when you're going out then and selling to, because well, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, sorry, that the, like there's these big companies that are going around and buying up different like offices across the country, and there's like they potentially have, dozens of them, maybe hundreds of them. Like, how do you go about actually implementing that across all the different states, and because they're all different, or is that not, or you just, because the system has all the data, you kind of handle that hurdle for your customers because you have all the data? Because I know obviously the laws are different in California compared to New York compared to et cetera, et cetera. Like, how does that, or is that not even really something you need to worry about on your end? Do you know what I'm getting at? I don't really
Yeah,
know how to ask
yeah.
the question. I guess maybe it's the simple question is just like there's so many laws across the different states. How does that kind of play into what you guys do or don't do?
That's such a great question. And that's where the power of LLMs and AI
Yeah.
comes into play.
Okay.
You
Sure.
can just feed all of this with the technology, you can just feed all of this into your system, and the system operates exactly the way that you want it to operate so if you, it will detect this provider is in California, I need to meet all California standards. And we've built all those, we've taken all these requirements state by state basis, on a CMS basis, on NCQA basis, even on a plan basis, and we've fed that into our system, into a rules engine. And
I
once
see.
now we know for this customer, for this California, our system needs to operate that way, and it automatically operates that way. We don't have to put any firepower towards it or any human power towards it.
Okay. So you do it on your end. Interesting. Okay, very cool. I'm curious then to get your thoughts on. Well, I want to dive a little bit deeper into. So you offer like the credentialing side, the licensing side, the monitoring side. We covered payer enrollment, and then kind of roster management. But like, how like from the monitoring side of things, what does that mean? Like, do I get like charts and graphs of kind of what's happening, or do I get like a dashboard, or walk us through that?
Yeah, it's a so the the status quo in the system is you have to re-credential the providers every 3 years,
Okay.
because you don't know what changed. Are they still operating on the top of their license? Have they fallen out of the workforce? So every 3 years you are basically re-credentialing the providers.
Okay.
Our thesis is, if you're keeping the credentials updated on a monthly basis, is there really a need to re-credential the providers? So if I know that
I
nothing has
see.
expired, or nothing is going to expire, or any changes in the provider profile, we can surface it to our customers at the end of 3 year marks. When you have to do re-credentialing, your work is basically zero or close to zero, because you're basically ticking a box at that point, because we have been monitoring providers on a monthly basis and
I
keeping
see.
track of their credentials on a monthly basis. So we feel that we never let the credentials expire. We monitor all the required elements on such a regular cadence that in future we hope that recredentialing just doesn't exist, and everyone just picks up monitoring as a core part of their operations.
No. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Very cool. But we're kind of coming to the end of the show. So how about we close with mentioning any other kind of last advice, or something else you want to mention today? And then let's close the show with mentioning where people can get more information about yourself and certify.
Yeah, I feel that healthcare has so much opportunity. It is like a wide space for people who really want to drive the impact, who really want to make a change in the industry. It's such a great space, and people with the advancement of the technology are so open to bring in inefficient to drive out inefficiencies and really streamline the processes. So if there are people who want to start something, I would strongly suggest them to look at healthcare, because it's such a big industry. It impacts people health. What's going to be more important than people health? No amount of money, no amount of wealth can match the health aspect. And so I feel there's a huge opportunity people can tap into in this space.
Interesting. And where can people get more information about certify?
I'm always on LinkedIn. I call myself a mini LinkedIn influencer
Mm. That's good.
these days. And our website, certifyos.com, has a certifyos.com. OS stands for operating system. That's our website, so people can log in, and we are always available. If people want to directly talk to me about provider data, I can talk about provider data all day long. That's a natural extension of me. I don't feel like I'm working, because that's what I'm obsessed about.
No, very cool, man. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be on the show, and I look forward to keeping in touch with you and have a good rest of your day.
Likewise, it was lovely speaking to you. Thanks for having me. I had such a good conversation.
Yeah, you as well. Thank you. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Please visit our website at buildingthefutureshow.com to join the free community, sign up for our newsletter, or to sponsor the show. The music is done by Electric Mantra. You can check him out at electricmantra.com and keep building the future.